Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Legion video. So, the release date for Legion has finally been revealed by Blizzard. The game is going to go live on the 30th of August 2016, just over a year after it was announced at Gamescom 2015. Legion is currently in testing. While the launcher refers to it as an alpha, the actual game builds that we get are beta, and that does make sense, seeing how Warlords of Draenor left alpha with far less content than the Legion, air quotes alpha, currently has. So the release date for Legion before this, obviously, was hotly speculated within the WoW community, even more so than normal due to the release of the Warcraft film this year in June, or for those of us who are a bit lucky in some countries like the UK, the 30th of May. Most of us predicted that they would try to line up the release dates of both so that the expansion and movie would be coming out in roughly the same window and everybody involved would make a big sack of money. However, it seems like that is no longer the case. The game will release a solid 2 months after the premiere of the movie. Indeed, the release date is perhaps a bit longer than some of us had anticipated, especially given Blizzard's commitment to reduce the time between an expansion's final patch and then the next expansion. Siege of Orgrimmar, lasting for 14 months, was basically a bit of a meme leading up to the Warlords of Draenor release date. Well, by the time Legion releases, we will indeed have had a solid 14 months-ish of patch 6.2. I suppose that'll give you a bit more time to work on your moose. Before I talk about development stuff, though, it is worth mentioning that the pre-patch will likely come out a month before Legion, i.e. in late July. This would give the game a shot in the arm soon after the movie releases, plus the movie's likely going to have pre-roll advertisements featuring the Legion cinematic trailer, and the events of which are covered by the Broken Shore, which will be coming in the pre-patch. Plus, we also don't know if they plan on executing the World of Warcraft Ultimate Movie bundle that they had surveyed people on a couple of months back. According to developers, they cut the length of Warlords of Draenor by a tier, thinking that they would be able to release Legion in an appropriately faster time. Yeah, that clearly has not been the case. Now, this video isn't purely negative. There are some really positive things that I've got to say about the state of Legion that I'm going to cover after this chat about game development stuff. So simply put, that thing that they said they would stop doing has kind of happened again. Now, my overall personal view on this is that it's been caused by a mixture of factors. First of all, I do believe that the developers had a genuine and honest belief that they would be able to make the deadline. I run a small studio as my 9 to 5, and while we are working on smaller projects, I can totally empathize with how this kind of stuff can happen. When it comes to dealing with projects and you're spinning plates and all of that stuff, sometimes stuff just slips and nobody wants it to slip. Now, that said, I also do think that there are perhaps some shoddy orders coming in from above the developers. Either the producer of the project is making some poor judgment calls, or the producer isn't being dealt a fair hand by their superiors. Either way, I do not envy their position. Financially, there are reasons to deliver a faster expansion cadence, and now that I've again got a bit of experience employing people and things like that, the financial angle is a lot more understandable. Every feature costs money, every bug costs money, basically everything costs money, and more than you would think. And as the head of a project, you want to get the best return for your team. Now, that is a bit different for a company like Blizzard, of course, and it's more likely a question of how much of the money that the World of Warcraft team pulls in is reinvested into the production budget of World of Warcraft. Perhaps that's in a situation where proportionately a bit more is going out than is coming in, and perhaps that's something that Blizzard would want to have a look at should they want World of Warcraft to, or the team behind World of Warcraft to be better positioned to put their game in a better state with more content that comes out faster. Now, one thing that does worry me is that they doubled the size of the team during Mists of Pandaria, and we still, 3 years later, are not seeing really an uptick in content. We're actually seeing quite the opposite. This is quite odd considering how they have been able to deliver more content with a smaller team in the past. So I wonder, are all of those staff still working on World of Warcraft? Maybe they've been doing some shifting shenanigans, who knows? Overall, I would hope that they take a more realistic outlook on what the team at the budget that they are currently being given can output. Striving for faster expansions makes them support the current one less, and that means it's more likely they'll stretch themselves thin, and the replacement expansion will leave a large gap in content. Ideally, all of this would manifest in them allowing for an expansion to be fully supported for its lifetime. Now look, this wasn't perfect in TBC to Wrath or Wrath to Cataclysm, but it was certainly in a better state than it kinda is now. I would also suggest that they maybe try to use their time a bit more efficiently. So a longer leveling process does make an expansion last a bit longer, by virtue of it literally taking more time to do stuff. And I know not all people like that, but we've got to think of the wider picture here. Winged dungeons that reuse assets from other dungeons are a very efficient way to get more content into an expansion. It reuses the art assets from the art team have made, and it does create good quality content, because at the end of the day, when it comes to a dungeon, what really matters is the game mechanics. Additionally, using the tile sets for raids for yet more dungeons as a way of getting more content in quickly. See Ulduar and Icecrown as good examples of that. Spacing out rewards to be a bit less frequent but matter more results in people finishing their race to the top, as far as gear goes, quite a bit later on, and it's also a design that allows for the gear ceiling of each expansion and each patch within that expansion to last a bit longer. There's a bunch of stuff like this which just feels like a more subtle and natural way to make an expansion last a bit longer, rather than doing some kind of overtly contrived mechanics, such as farming Tombs of Chaos weekly. Now, I do want to quickly mention the Legion alpha test, since it's very relevant to the expansion's release. I finished all of the leveling content, and it comes to about an hour to an hour and a half per level. There isn't actually much content there. You'll pretty much do all of it on a single playthrough, but the quality of the content is quite good. There are some concerns for repeat playthroughs though. Anyway, the dungeons are great too, and I think the challenge modes are going to be really fun. The world quests, footage from which you've been watching in this video, are a cool system with a lot of potential to get people out, will get people out in the world. I'm a tad concerned that they seem to reuse quite a bit of the level up content within that system, but again, we'll need to wait and see. I'm sure the raids will be great, they pretty much always have been. I can't speak much for PvP, though I will have a video on the whole prune discussion out kinda soon. Professions look brilliant so far actually, and the class order hall mission stuff, well, in my view, the missions suck, but as I said in the video, the content that you do in your character is really great. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of people ignored me saying that that was great, and kind of left without the full picture. Bit unfortunate. Anyway, I am a bit concerned about loot. It's definitely a doubling down of the trends that we've seen within Warlords of Draenor. I think loot's a really powerful motivator, and making it a very common occurrence with a rare chance of having sort of randomly good stats is actually just a way to get people a bit more disinterested and jaded against the whole thing. It's not like Diablo 3 where you're, getting a big, a Greater Rift run every, hour or whatever, and that's super frequent, so you're okay to pull the slots all the time. It's not really like that in World of Warcraft. And it's also worth saying that the classes are, in my view, really quite fun at the minute. If you discount the mission table and loot worries, it actually does look like there's the basis for a solid expansion there, and I suppose we do have a good few months left with the testing. Certainly, we've got more time in testing to work through potential problems than I had thought. So, I suppose while it is disappointing that Blizzard have slipped, or at least in my view, have slipped in what they should be delivering to their customers, I guess my outlook on the quality of the expansion has actually went up. And I suppose we could end this with a quote from Shigeru Miyamoto: "A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad." I suppose in the era of patches and things like that, it's a little bit less true, but I think the principle of it all does hold, so hopefully this amount of time will result in Legion coming out as a very good expansion. Certainly, I think the basis of things are there, but we need to talk about all the issues on every side that we can think of, because that's really the right way to do things. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments or via Twitter. Twitter's probably the best place to get a handle of me if you want that. And yeah, I will see you next time.